Imagine a brand that has survived for over 150 years, untouched by scandal, untouched by changing trends, while a billion-dollar institution like FIFA can't go 2 years without a fresh controversy. That brand is Levi's, and the institution is FIFA. And today, we're asking a question that sounds strange at first, but makes perfect sense once you dig into it. What can the biggest sports organization on the planet learn from a denim company? Levi's never sold jeans, not really. They sold an identity built on freedom, grit, and authenticity. And that identity has barely moved since the 1850s when the brand was created for gold miners who needed something tough enough to survive. FIFA, meanwhile, controls the most unifying sport in human history, a game that has made grown men cry in the streets, that has united entire nations for 90 minutes at a time, and yet somehow manages to turn that emotional power into distrust instead of loyalty. Where Levi's protected its core values like a vault, FIFA keeps trading them away for short-term wins. A controversial host country here, a sponsor-driven schedule change there. This video breaks down exactly what separates the two, and why FIFA's biggest problem isn't its size or its money. It's that it forgot what actually built football's global power in the first place: the love of the people who never asked for anything but honesty.
Authenticity is the first lesson, and it's the one Levi's has never broken. They innovate, they introduce sustainable denim, they update their fits, but they never abandoned the core promise that made people trust the brand a century ago. FIFA could learn from that instantly, because every time a decision looks driven purely by money, a questionable host selection, a match move to please a sponsor, somewhere a fan who grew up believing the game was sacred feels just a little more betrayed. And that kind of quiet heartbreak adds up over time. Storytelling is the second lesson, and it's where the gap becomes almost painful to watch, because Levi's ads were never about jeans. They were about struggle, identity, and freedom, turning a simple product name like the 501 into something closer to folklore. FIFA, on the other hand, is sitting on the greatest storytelling goldmine in sports. Underdog nations, players who clawed their way out of poverty with nothing but a ball and a dream, communities that live and breathe the game. Yet it locks all of that emotion inside marketing campaigns, instead of letting those same values shape how the organization is actually run. Trust rebuilding is the third lesson, and Levi's has lived through this exact nightmare before, watching sales crash in the 1990s as the brand started to feel old and forgotten, only to claw its way back, not by chasing trends, but by doubling down on its roots, while modernizing just enough to stay relevant. FIFA needs that same blueprint after scandals like the 2015 corruption crisis, because statements and press conferences were never going to fix what's broken. What's needed is real transparency, real accountability, and a willingness to let fans, the very people who give the game its soul, into decisions that have, for too long, been made entirely behind closed doors.
Put both brands side by side and the difference becomes impossible to ignore. Levi's treats every customer like an individual whose story matters, while FIFA treats fans like a number on a revenue report, a ticket sold, a jersey bought, a broadcast deal signed. That single mindset shift is the difference between a brand people defend with their whole heart and a brand people merely tolerate. Levi's also wins through consistency, never flipping its core message season to season, while FIFA seems to reinvent its priorities with every World Cup cycle, chasing commercial growth one year and folding under political pressure the next. And that inconsistency is exactly why so many fans now watch the game they love while quietly distrusting the people running it. The lesson underneath all of this is simple but heavy. Marketing was never about advertising. It was always a promise, and a promise only means something if it's kept through actions, not slogans. Levi's understood that a century ago and has protected it ever since. FIFA has the bigger story, the bigger stage, and the bigger emotional pull. But until it starts acting like a guardian of the game instead of a company extracting value from it, it will keep losing the one thing money can never buy back: the trust of the people who never stopped showing up. If this breakdown gave you a new way to see FIFA's biggest mistake, hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment telling us which brand you want broken down next.